Hello, thank you for stopping by. My name is Becky and this is Bex Reads, and today I am here to share with you my weekly reads. These are the couple books that I finished reading March 18th through the 24th. I didn't get a lot read. I have been rewatching my favorite show, Bones, so it's cut into a lot of my reading time. I'm just reading whenever I feel like it. The first book that I finished reading was This Dark Descent. This is a book that I picked up. I purchased it randomly based off the cover from Pango because it's got a horse on the cover up there. I did listen to this on audio through Everand, and in this we're following a young girl named Makira whose family is known for breeding enchanted horses. And when her family gets into a spot of trouble, she is forced to enter this horse race called the Illineer, and she has to win this without the help of an enchanted horse to get her family out of the trouble that they're in. So she has to get this sponsor from a young lord who is trying to get his inheritance. She also gets the help from this other young woman named Ariel, who is an unlicensed enchantress, and she is going to make Makira a golem and enchant it with things to help her win this race. So one thing I was hoping from this book that it didn't deliver on was the horse races themselves. I was expecting this to involve more enchanted horse races because in the synopsis it does say that these are like super deadly. And while they are, the horse races themselves take up such a minor part of this book that I was a little bit disappointed with that. Instead, I get sort of this dark, political, almost like crime family story that I wasn't really there for. I did like Ariel's character the best. I felt like she had the most intriguing story to tell. So part of her story is that if Makira can win this horse race for this lord, he will make sure that he gets her a license to be an enchantress. So that's why she's involved in this. I love the Jewish folklore of her creating golems and just the different creatures that she makes and how she goes about giving them certain abilities and things like that. I found that really fascinating. I did like the found family aspect in here. That's one of my favorite tropes. So anytime I can read about it in a story, I'm not gonna hate it by any means. This was just okay. There wasn't anything that stood out about it for me. I feel like if the horses were a more prominent role, I feel like that would have stood out more. There are some moments in here that are pretty dark, especially involving Ariel. But aside from that, it was pretty much just like your standard YA story of girl trying to win against corrupt fantasy politics. And the other book that I finished this week was actually an arc of Darkest Sins by Neva Altej. This comes out on March 28th. This is, I think, the 9th book in her Perfectly Imperfect series, so I have read them all. This one is about Kai and Nira. Kai is a character who we learn about and who is mentioned in previous books. He was forced into this program when he was a young boy around 8 years old. He's pretty much orphaned, so he was put into this government program, I guess, where they pretty much train young men with like problems to be killers. And so that's what he was trained to do. He's pretty much like a sociopath, kind of. He has no feelings. He pretty much just gets orders to kill, and he kills. And he ends up injured one night when Nira stumbles upon him on her way to work. She is working as a vet tech. But she is also a Mafia princess, and her father is sort of letting her live out her last few years of freedom before she will be forced into an arranged marriage to somebody in their Mafia family. So when she saves Kai, it's the first time that somebody has ever really done something for him and not expected anything in return. So he immediately is captivated and enamored with Nira. So he starts stalking her. And through him stalking her and getting to know her, they end up getting closer to one another and forming a relationship. But then something happens and it drives them apart for a few years, and then they come back together. This is dual perspective. It is also dual timeline. We start off in the present and then it flashes back through the years as we see Nira and Kai get to know one another, and then it switches to present day again. So this was another hit for me in this series. I really liked Kai and Nira's chemistry and their relationship. I'm not one who usually likes stalker stories. Stalkers freak me the fuck out in real life and in books. I've never liked movies that involve stalkers. I've never liked like true crimes that involve stalkers. Stalkers just freak me out. So I've never really enjoyed a romance with a stalker. But I really liked this one because Kai was so sweet in his stalking. He's making sure nobody is going to harm her. And this isn't just a touch her and die. No, this is a disrespect her and die. He will literally kill you on the spot for disrespecting his woman, and I loved it. I loved that Nira was such a smart and determined young woman. She really stood up for herself and the people around her. She didn't make things over dramatic when she finds out that Kai is pretty much a killer. She's used to that in her family, so she's not like, oh my god, I must change him or anything like that. No, she pretty much accepts him exactly for who he is, and I loved that. I also just loved her determination to get things done. She does end up actually being the head of the mob family for a while, which I thought was really interesting because I don't read enough Mafia romances where the woman is in charge. I also just loved Kai and seeing him in very innocent and sweet moments, seeing this killer of a man who really didn't experience much feelings or emotion for most of his life finally coming into those emotions was just the sweetest thing ever. And I think this is the longest book in this series so far, if I'm not mistaken. Bless you. On my ebook it said it was 437 pages, but also on Amazon on the print version it also says it's over 400 pages. So I do think this is the longest book. If you haven't started this series and you're looking for like a cozy Mafia romance series to start, I definitely think you should try this out. I got the dog laying over here making snuffling sounds. So those were the whopping 2 books that I managed to read this week. Let me know down in the comments if you've read This Dark Descent or if you plan to read Darkest Sins. But if you don't want to comment that but would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, could you just leave me a black heart emoji, please? And with that, thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, happy reading. Bye.